Before there was a plantation, there was a ship. Before there was a chain on the ankle, there was a chain on the neck. Before America, there was the Jesus of Lübeck. And they put God's name on a hub.
They crossed the ocean in the belly of a ship named after God. They arrived with nothing left but breath in a body full of scars. Every ancestor who survived carried wounds that never closed.
The Jesus slave ship
Crossed the water in 1564.
They stripped our people of their names.
Before they reached the shore,
They sold a mother from a daughter.
for the price of a silver coin,
They built an entire nation on the blood of
every soul that came aboard the Jesus slave ship
had God's name.
on a vessel packed with chains.
The Jesus slave ship, and nothing holy ever.
Cross those waves.
Yo, Henry VIII commissioned the vessel around 1544. Queen Elizabeth I saw the prophet Hawkins brought in. She wanted more. She personally invested in the voyage and never asked what the Africans died for. Hawkins sailed to Sierra Leone in 1562 and he did not trade. He took 300 people by force and packed them into the hull like cargo and grain. They could not stand, they could not turn. They breathed the air of the dying for weeks. Mothers held their children in the dark, not knowing what waited on the other side of the sea. The ones who survived arrived in Hispaniola with no name and no language recognized. The buyers walked among them and inspected them the way a farmer inspects livestock in market. Hawkins returned to London with silver, and the Queen congratulated his prophet. She funded the second voyage with the Jesus of Lübeck as the flagship, and they did it all again. 400 more Africans chained below the waterline in the belly of a ship named after Christ. Fathers watched their sons get separated at the point of sale, and the record
Only loaded the price
they crossed the ocean
in the belly.
of a ship named after God,
They arrived with nothing left
but breathe.
than a body full of scars.
Every ancestor
Who survived
carried wounds that never closed.
the Jesus slave ship crossed the water in 1564.
They stripped our people
Of their names. Before they reached the shore, they sold a mother from a daughter for the price of a silver coin.
They built an entire nation on the blood of
Every soul that came aboard the Jesus slave ship had God's name on a vessel packed with chains.
the Jesus slave ship.
And nothing holy ever crossed those waves.
The third voyage launched in 1567 with the same ship and the same mission. 500 more African seas from West Africa with documented military precision. The middle passage was 6 to 8 weeks of people chained to the floor of a hull. The living lay beside the dead because there was no space to separate the dying from the full. Children who stopped eating were force-fed so they would survive long enough to be sold. Some jumped into the Atlantic Ocean because death was more dignified than what they were told. In 1568, the Spanish attacked the San Juan de Ulua and the ship began to sink. Hawkins abandoned the vessel and the Africans still locked below and left without a second thing. He sailed back to England and Queen Elizabeth I knighted him for service to the crown. She gave him a coat of arms with a bound African figure on it, and that image was never taken down. And they wrote in the law that every person he sold can never be taught to read a single word. 1740 in South Carolina made the education of enslaved people a punishable criminal act. Virginia, Georgia, and North Carolina followed, and no one in power said there was anything wrong with that. They legislated ignorance because knowledge produces resistance, and resistance threatened the contract.
They stole the continent of children and gave the ship the name of the Lord. They outlawed reading, so the truth of what they did can never be restored. They knighted the man who carried out the theft and inscribed his crime on a royal crest. They buried the documented history under silence and called the burial progress. There were mothers on that ship
who never saw their children again.
There were elders who died in the hold
Before the ship reached the chain.
There were children
who forgot their mother tongue
because England erased it by design.
They are descendants of those people alive today, still living inside that same system's confines. Yeah, John Hawkins moved over 1,200 Africans in 6 years of royal sponsored trade.
Queen Elizabeth,
the first, collected a portion on every single soul that was weighed. England built its generational wealth on a foundation of documented human theft.
And the people whose ancestors were on that ship are still demanding what is left.
The Jesus of Lübeck is a real ship. Henry the Eighth purchased it. In 1544, King Henry the Eighth purchased the large warship called the Jesus of Lübeck Queen. Elizabeth I leased it to John Hawkins, who used it to transport stolen Africans across the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah.
They named the ship Jesus, but there was no salvation on board. They packed our ancestors in chains below the deck of the Lord.
England set sail for profit, and Africa paid the full cost.
The Jesus slave ship
sailed in 1564.
They stole our people directly
from the African shore.
John Hawkins took 400
and sold them all on arrival.
Queen Elizabeth I received her cut
and called the transaction survival.
The Jesus slave ship
was constructed on stolen black lives.
The Jesus slave ship
was the exact place where humanity died. The Jesus of Lübeck was built in Germany in the early 1500s. Henry VIII purchased it for the Royal Navy around 1544. It was a large warship also used for merchant trade and commerce. Queen Elizabeth I leased it directly to a merchant named John Hawkins. Hawkins launched his first voyage in 1562 without the Jesus ship. He traveled to Sierra Leone and forcibly seized approximately 300 Africans. He transported them to Hispaniola and sold them to Spanish colonists for profit. He returned to England with enormous financial gain, and the Queen collected her portion. His second voyage launched in 1564 with the Jesus of Lübeck as the flagship. He returned to the West African coast and seized over 400 more people. He held them below the deck in conditions specifically designed to break the human body. There was no room to stand, no clean water, and disease spread rapidly through the whole. He sold them in the Caribbean colonies in exchange for silver, gold, and goods. Queen Elizabeth I received a direct financial portion of every enslaved person sold on that voyage. She was a documented investor in the organized buying and selling of African human beings. England called this activity international trade, but it was the systematic theft of human lives.
They named the ship Jesus, but there was no salvation on board. They packed our ancestors in chains below the deck of the Lord.
England set sail for profit,
and Africa
paid the full cost.
The Jesus slave ship
sailed in 1564.
They stole our people directly
from the African shore.
John Hawkins took 400
and sold them all on arrival.
Queen Elizabeth I received her cut and called the transaction survival. The Jesus slave ship
was constructed on stolen black lives.
The Jesus slave ship
was the exact place where humanity died. The third voyage launched in 1567 with the Jesus of Lübeck once again. Hawkins captured between 400 and 500 Africans on this particular trip. The Middle Passage was the documented name given to the route crossing the Atlantic Ocean. Enslaved Africans were physically shackled together at the bottom of the ship with no space. Many died from dysentery, smallpox, and severe dehydration during the weeks-long crossing. In 1568, the Spanish fleet launched an attack at the port of San Juan de Ulúa. The Jesus of Lübeck sustained critical damage, and Hawkins abandoned the vessel to the Spanish. After returning to England, John Hawkins was formally knighted by Queen Elizabeth I. His official royal coat of arms was specifically designed to include a bound African figure.
England honored a documented slave trader and recorded his crime permanently into a royal seal.
The enslaved people Hawkins sold were later prohibited by law from learning to read or write.
In 1740, South Carolina made it a criminal offense to educate any enslaved person.
Virginia, Georgia, and North Carolina passed
Identical laws protecting the institution of ignorance.
reading was outlawed.
Because knowledge produces a direct desire for freedom and resistance. They stole the body first,
And then they came back and stole the mind,
they made literacy a criminal act.
and kept entire generations confined
The Jesus ship was the documented beginning,
of a system.
constructed entirely on lies.
They placed the name of God on that vessel, but God was never on that ship. John Hawkins completed 3 documented voyages between 1562 and 1568. He forcibly transported over 1,200 Africans across the Atlantic during those 6 years. England accumulated generational national wealth directly from the labor of those stolen people. The royal family held financial investment in every slave trading transaction that was completed. That full documented history was never placed inside the standard educational curriculum. It was deliberately removed from the record and replaced with institutional silence.
The Jesus slave ship
It was never slave ship.
was not a story about a wooden vessel.